I'd be happy to have somebody talk to you about the rules. I fully complied with every rule that I was governed by.
Hillary Clinton saying she did nothing wrong in the way she handled her emails as Secretary of State. But how persuasive was she? Time to bring in our Sunday group, the Weekly Standard's Steve Hayes, USA Today columnist Kirsten Powers, GOP strategist Karl Rove, and Fox News political analyst Juan Williams. So, Karl, we were talking with Congressman Schiff. You were one of the people taking heat. You had one White House account. You also had a separate political account. In fact, you had to have a political account because you couldn't do government business or political business on the government account. How big a deal do you think this Hillary Clinton thing is, and how big a role will it play in her campaign?
Look, it'll be big in that it reaffirms a vision, a narrative that people have about the Clintons, thinking that they are governed by a different set of rules, and that we're going to have throughout the entire course of the campaign, whether it's foreign contributions to their foundation, or Huma Abedin getting a salary from a private company selling intelligence to foreign entities on American politics at the same time she's getting a salary at the State Department. We're going to have a whole series of these things that are the Clintons operating in a sense of entitlement. I have to admit, I was amused at Congressman Schiff. You're right. RNC accounts were there for political activity at the Republican at the White House. Because of the Hatch Act, we had to have a separate account. But we were told these are presidential records. They were periodically swept and added into the White House archives. In fact, there was a kerfluffle when they were thought to be missing, and Congressman Schiff was one of the people going the loudest and strongest with Secretary Clinton, who at that point was running for president, also accusing the White House of secret email accounts.
Oh, she said it shredded the Constitution.
Shredded the Constitution. Of course, they found those 22 million emails in the White House archives, and they went before the committee, and it was a complete circus. One of the big charges had to do with Don Siegelman, the governor of
all right, let's not get into the weeds here. Let's not relitigate 2007.
Bottom line is I was laughing listening to him try to defend something after listening to him so piously scream and shout about secret email accounts in 2007 and 2008.
We asked you for questions for the panel, and we got this on Facebook from Paul Inder, who writes, how will this affect her, Hillary's, big-time donors? Do they continue to invest in her, or do they start shopping for another candidate to support? Kirsten, how do you answer Paul? I mean, from your soundings, how upset are Democrats? How worried are they? And are they beginning to look around?
Well, I think they are worried about it, but I also think there's nobody else that is even in her league. So the idea that there's anyone to shop around for, the feeling is she's the best candidate. There's just nobody that even comes close to her. So I think that one of the concerns is what Karl raised, is that it feeds into a narrative. You know, that the Clintons are secretive, that she seemed very defensive. The way she handled that press conference was concerning to people, that this doesn't seem like somebody who's really ready for prime time, which is a strange thing to say for somebody who's been in prime time for such a long time. So the flip side of it is she's very good at turning things around into where she's the victim. And so I can see, as you start to see Republicans piling on, I think she's going to probably be able to turn this around a little bit and say, oh, see, here they come again. You know, Clinton derangement syndrome. They're out there, they're coming after me, and it will make people rally around her a little bit.
Steve, our colleague Charles Krauthammer had a column on Friday, and the lead line was Clinton burn the tapes. And in effect, what he was saying was if Richard Nixon had handled Watergate the way Hillary Clinton has handled this, that he would have survived in his presidency. Not to compare the crimes of Watergate and the Nixon White House to what we know so far here, but doesn't he have a point that she has, you know, she deleted 30,000 emails. We don't know if she destroyed her hard drive, but to a certain degree, she's rendered a lot of this discussion moot.
Yeah, I think it's a huge problem for her for the reasons that both Kirsten and Karl suggest. But look, I mean, even if you agree, even if you believe the Clintons in the way that they've described their process, they did these keyword searches, they went through and deleted emails that were or were not from .gov email addresses. That doesn't address the problem. That doesn't solve the problem. And to go to your point, the questions that you were asking Adam Schiff, you know, there's not just the form OF 109. There's another form, 1904, where a State Department official has to certify that the person who's removed this material has gotten permission to remove the material. Where's that form? Was that ever signed? Was it requested? There's all this documentation that she hasn't provided in addition to her server, in addition to these missing emails. And I think this, you know, until she does, these are questions that are going to follow her around.
I think we can agree, one, there were a lot of good things about the Clinton years. We had relative peace and prosperity. We had balanced budgets. We had welfare reform. Some would say Newt Gingrich forced that on the president. On the other hand, there were a lot of things that I think we all didn't like. Scandals, the parsing of words, the playing by different set of rules. Does this, and this is something that I think Carl and Kirsten were talking about, does this feed into that and in a sense remind people of the bad parts of the Clinton years?
Well, I think it does. I don't, I mean, just to pick up, by the way, on something my friends here are talking about, which is, I think, from a historical point of view, you want the historical record from a journalist point of view. That's why AP is suing. You should have some transparency. Now onto the political part, Chris. I don't think that, when people look back on Filegate, Whitewater, all the rest, what did James Carville, the old Clinton, used to say this week? He said, you look back on it, all amounts to a bunch of nothing. And I think that's largely the response in the Democratic community. Initially concerned that, we're setting a precedent here through Hillary Clinton's behavior that others subsequently can follow. Republicans could come and say, yeah, I'm going to keep my email secret now too. But I think there has been such a feeding frenzy on the right over this issue that people think it's way out of line. And it's to the point where it's almost like a poker player turning over the table and saying, oh, we're out of here. It's a big bluff because they've got nothing when it comes to actually winning the 2016 campaign. Hillary Clinton is 7 to 8 points, according to Real Clear Politics, ahead of any Republican candidate at this point. And you see these Republicans, oh yeah, email, email, email. When Carl was in trouble back in 07, no press coverage, just about zero press coverage of this
I don't
issue.
think that's the way.
That is true. It was like one day press coverage.
Wait a minute. So you're saying that basically the press was protecting George W. Bush, but is going after Hillary? Is that your point?
One, you were in a different reality, and I wish I was there with you.
Wait, let Carl.
I went back and looked. There was one Washington Post editorial that basically said, you guys didn't get good guidance.
No. There may have been one editorial. I remember a lot more op-eds than one. But look, here's the point. If you're trying to say, oh, they were not tough on Rove, but they're being too tough on Clinton. Well, maybe it's because she was the Secretary of State and I was a White House aide, and she is violating the rules that were laid down by they fired an ambassador.
But Carl, you fired a bunch of U.S. attorneys.
She fired an ambassador for having a private email account while she has a private email account.
If you doubt your power, let me affirm you. You were a powerful man in the Bush White House, and you were firing U.S. attorneys, and there was a scandal.
In fact, I hate to have to continue to correct you.
And 95% of your emails were
wait.
I'm sorry to continue to have to correct you.
No, you like correcting him. Come on, admit it.
Even the Obama Justice Department did 2 investigations and found there was no improper White House interference in this. And so I appreciate the drive-by shooting, but get your facts straight.
All right. No, we're out of, wait.
Jeb Bush has a private email. You had private email.
I had no private email. I had no private email. I was told.
You had no private. What was the RNC email?
I was told right from the beginning that it was treated as a presidential record, and it was periodically swept and dumped into the White House archives, which is exactly what happened.
Private emails. One thing about private emails. One thing we learned this week was that both Cheryl Mills and Huma Abedin were using private emails to communicate.
And Cheryl Mills, the Chief of Staff, and Huma Abedin.
And somebody who was instrumentally involved in putting down the
which also
puts
it contradicts the idea that if she's sending emails to them, that they were being saved.
And Huma Abedin, courtesy of somebody inside Bill Clinton's office, we know Huma Abedin is the person who requested the private email account be established for Hillary Clinton.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Well, there you go. Glad we settled this. All right, we have to take a break here. We'll see you all a little later. Boy, I don't know what you could stay off the caffeinated coffee.